This is really a pleasure for me to have an opportunity to introduce to you Ask Richard Fedrizzi.
Thank you very much. It is truly an honor to be here with all of you. This is very exciting. I know that Dan has tried to get me here for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, I have not been able to, only due to a very hectic schedule, as Neil Murphy told you. The hectic schedule to me is a real sign that things are changing. There's huge demand for this new paradigm where business meets sustainability, and people are still trying to figure out what it means and what the opportunities are. But I think what I'm going to do right now is just run you through a few different ideas of where green buildings matter here, even in the Adirondack Park, why buildings can change so much, and why it will be something that I think you will all be a part of. If you are not already, in the years ahead, you will be. I do want to also, besides Dan and Dr. Murphy, I want to thank Ed Bogish, who's in the audience here somewhere. Ed, who runs the Center of Excellence. Oh, there he is over in the corner. Runs the Center of Excellence in Syracuse. And Ed is a very good coach for me on collaboration, because, you know, USGBC, there was so much happening so quickly, and oftentimes we forget that the most important movement forward is collaboration. And then I also have a friend in the audience, Rebecca Flora, who was our chairman of the board. Rebecca was chairman of the board for 4 years, I think in 2008. Yeah. And Rebecca actually was born in the Adirondacks in a little place called Nickelville. Oh, it was St. Regis Falls, okay. Oh, you should have. Well, it's really funny because when I was a kid, my dad had a hunting camp in St. Regis Falls. And my best memories, which actually I got a big dose of last night on the way up here, was just that feeling of, you know, the stress. And actually, when I was a kid leaving Syracuse, I had a lot less stress than I have now. But just driving mile by mile and starting to see the terrain change and starting to see, you know, what really is so badly in need of protection, it just you know, brought you right back to this feeling of why we're all here. So with that, I'm going to run through these. I've got a lot of slides, and I did it because I want to give you a good glimpse of the entire green building movement. This is truly a movement. There is a massive wave of activity that started 20 years ago in the United States, for the most part. I'm not discounting the fact that country by country, the Scandinavian countries and Germany and others inherently knew that they could do good construction through saving energy and water and waste and eliminating toxins, and they just did it. I did a speech in Germany a few years ago, and as I had all my slides up talking about green building, they're like, "What are you talking about?" Of course, they did it with a German accent. It was really kind of, "What are you talking about?" and it was more about the fact that, well, we've always done it that way. Why is it so special? And I helped them understand that Americans need a rallying point. We need a moniker. We need something to say, oh, I understand now what I didn't understand before. So green building in the U.S. gives us that. But the rest of the world also did not have that rallying point, and now they do. So you'll see a great amount of activity. If I had to only show you a couple of slides today, I would show you these. These were given to me by a good friend, Adnan Mazria, who runs Architecture 2030. And essentially, he's showing that in the world population growth curve, where it is growing, as we all know, out of control, we have some inherent problems. Certainly, you know, the good news and the bad news is 50% of the world's population is now living in cities. We all know the good part of the density story there, and if we did have great cities with truly vibrant, you know, infrastructure that complemented that, we'd be in great shape. But unfortunately, in most parts of the world, this is a shot of Turkey, we don't. 50% of the people in those cities are using 2%. Right now, those cities occupy only 2% of the world's land mass and still use 2/3 of the world's energy and produce 2/3 of the world's CO2. So you got this immense amount of people in a very small space using a lot of resources. Those resources are 80% of the world's resources and produce 1 billion tons of waste annually. It's really frightening. These are the numbers that I'm sure Greenpeace, Sierra Club, and a bunch of others showed 20 years ago. It's not changing. These numbers are not changing. I'm not even sure if they've slowed because population growth encourages an entire new generation to use resources in a way that nobody actually knows what the outcome will be. We have to do something about this. We feel really good about our work at the USGBC. And every one of you in this room do specific work that is beneficial to this massive problem. Our work happens to be centered around buildings, and I'm going to show you a lot of great examples of why that's important, but I don't want you to think for 1 minute that your work in water or communities or technology or infrastructure or real estate, all of that matters. It's just what piece and what role we play in that. Certainly the education sector, paramount to all of it. But we feel at the USGBC the buildings give us a tremendous opportunity, but only if they perform. And I'll give you a great couple of examples of that. We at the USGBC have had to rethink our entire strategy. When LEED, our building rating system, was developed, it was developed primarily as a design tool. So the architects, the engineers, the whole group would get together, create a charrette. The charrette would bring forth a set of plans and ideas. The building would be advanced and you would get a LEED rating. That could have conceivably happened without turning on the first switch to understand how much energy, water, waste, and so forth was used. The future of LEED is all about the end-of-pipe performance, understanding how the home or the 3-story building or the 55-story skyscraper or the university campus or the whatever it is, every building type, understanding the performance. And right now, the green revolution, as we had at least a 20-minute dream a few years back that we could just now begin, a Prius in every garage, and we have the ability to advance this mission with unbridled happiness, that came to a crashing halt. And so we've really started to look at the world around us. And right now, our world demands a retrofit revolution. And I want to go back to Ed Manzaria's slides for just a minute. And if you look at this, energy consumption by the year 2050 is showing about 68 quads. That is quadrillion BTUs of energy that will be demanded. A quad of energy is a lot of energy. That was supposed to be a joke. Not being a scientist, I'm sure the quadrillion BTUs is something I could explain further, but I can't. But it's a lot, okay? We have spent so long, and this is no disrespect to anyone who's in the renewable field here, but we've spent so long trying to hammer the folks in Washington and all the special interests that renewable energy is our answer. And if you look at those two lines, the blue line essentially is renewables, so it would be wind and solar and so forth, and the orange little bar there is nuclear, which essentially that orange bar has pretty much gone away since the disaster in Japan. But what we have tried to do through the green building movement right now is help people understand the opportunity. That actually reduces less than 10 quads of energy demand by the year 2050. The embodied inefficiency of our buildings all around the world, but primarily let's talk about the United States. All of our homes, all of our schools, all of our strip malls, our banks, our office buildings, many university buildings, on and on and on. That embodied energy efficiency opportunity can reduce this demand to almost 30 quads. So you're more than half of the amount of energy projected use by the year 2050 can be taken out of the equation if we just improve the buildings we have today. And it's not Star Wars. It's insulation, it's windows, it's lighting, it's heating and air conditioning. And a few controls with thermostats and so forth, that is it. We're not talking Star Wars. But the opportunity is huge, and the first part of that begins with education. You talk about by the year 2020, McKinsey came up with a study recently, showed that just looking at our building, commercial building structure, by the year 2020, we could reduce the energy demand by 23, save $1.2 trillion. You know, everybody talks about, you know, the deficit. You know, we could figure out a way to get some of that money back. 1.1 gigatons of greenhouse gas reduced, and create 900,000 new jobs. And again, this is a McKinsey study, so, and it's online if anybody wants to look at USGBC's website. That information is all there. USGBC, I think, has played a central role as an organization. As the CEO, I get a lot of credit for this. The beauty of the USGBC is what happened 20 years ago when there were three founders of the idea. But beyond that, it was a community that came together. Architects, engineers, designers, state and local government leaders, school board members, you know, every engineers, every conceivable part of the built environment, financial institutions, insurance company executives, all of these folks came together to say, we believe there's a better way forward. And to do that, we need to be disruptive. And we wanted to, we had an agenda, basically. We were living in a time 20 years ago when, you know, there were a couple of factions out there. There were the environmental NGOs that had a big electrified fence and a stick and told business, you stay over there and you do what we tell you to do. And then there was business over here basically getting angry and saying, we're going to do anything we want to do because we're business, damn it, and we've got money. And then there was a genius named Paul Hawken, who in 1992 or 3 wrote The Ecology of Commerce. And in that he mentioned that, just casually, that the business, being the biggest offender of the environment, needed to be part of the solution. That nothing would change unless business came to the table as equal partners. So in our idea to kind of do greater work to advance an agenda for the environment and make things better, what we decided to do is invite business to the table. So we created the U.S. Green Building Council, an open, consensus-based organization that have as our board of directors a diverse population of leaders and practitioners, including a couple of seats for business, and it really has made the difference. It has. Because the largest corporations right now, and I have the privilege of knowing, you know, a handful of really high-level CEOs, and they basically say that this gave them the ability to feel like it was safe to play in the water, that they could make mistakes and no one would bring a $100 million lawsuit down on their head, that they had the ability to enhance their brand, stimulate their employees, help their shareholders understand where their intentions were. We taught them terms like greenwashing and helped them understand you never want to be accused of greenwashing. Take 2 or 3 incremental steps, try to do the right thing. No one will discourage you from trying, and ultimately it's making a difference. And I don't know of a Fortune 500 company today that today does not have a sustainability director or vice president or officer in many cases. And 20 years ago when we started, I had the fortune at United Technologies Carrier to have that job. And today it's commonplace. So things change quickly over time. Our little army started to grow, and with that growth came a voice and influence, and what we have been able to do, I think, is nothing short of astounding. We created the LEED rating system. We had a goal in the very beginning. We were going to do 2 things. We were going to create a rating system because we had to help people understand what is a green building. Back in 1992, there were at least 2 that I knew of. One was they were both in Lower Manhattan. One was the Audubon House on 18th Street in Lower Manhattan, and the other one was the new NRDC at the time, 20 years old. the new NRDC offices that had been done. And that was it. We anecdotally knew all of these things would produce a better building that would use less energy, create less waste, use less water, and so forth. We knew all of that. We needed a way to prove it. In creating LEED, which is an acronym for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, we knew we could drive the market to sustainability. And that was it. It's a very simple goal. It was not this big, lofty agenda. It was, we want to do better. There's not a lot of great definitions of what that means today. Let's create this and go forward, which we have. But in doing this, what we wanted to do, we wanted to build green that would save energy and save money, create jobs, improve infrastructure, and grow the real estate market. Right now, we have about 17,000 corporate and organizational members. These are not individuals. These are entities that are members of U.S. Green Building Council. We have 79 chapters. I think actually it's 80 chapters today. We have a very vibrant upstate New York chapter. Tracy Hall, who many of you may know, has been running that and doing a wonderful job for us. It's really interesting. A lot of our really significant LEED work that's going on, 40% of it is outside the United States today. So no matter how hard we tried to keep a cap on this, just to make sure that we were doing the most that we could do inside the United States, the world has demanded it. And that's really important, because if you start looking at global construction opportunities and you start understanding the CO2 that's produced in China is the pollution that we take in doses from Seattle to Syracuse on a regular basis, it's good that we are beginning a process of influencing them in the right direction. And we are, in fact, doing that. So LEED is this system that basically, through a variety of inputs from site, energy, water, waste, materials, innovation, and so forth, gives us the ability to better understand our building. And people always say to me, like, what is LEED? I really don't know the concept or what it is. And there are ways to explain it through all of the different areas of LEED. That is this, 100-point system, and ultimately you get credits for doing this and this and this, and you get your rating certified silver, gold, or platinum at the end of it. I like to show a different slide. Basically, I like to help them understand that in driving the market, what LEED is an innovation standard. It's not building code. Building code is out there, and building code, by the way, is getting better, way better than it used to be. So we are really excited about that. LEED has always been this top 25% of the market that is actually, I'm quite sure building code is getting better because LEED is pulling it upward. If we didn't have LEED, if you don't have that demand to, lose weight or run on 20 miles or do something, if you don't have it, you're not going to reach to that level. LEED helps pull it in that direction. And our goal here is to look at regeneration. When you look at the LEED plaque that's on a building today and you don't understand the concept of what it is, I want you to think about a simple box of animal crackers. On a 99-cent box of crackers, it'll tell you how much fat, protein, carbohydrates, and sodium is in that box of crackers. But until LEED, you could look at a $90 million building, you could look at a schoolhouse, you could look at a hospital. You'd have no clue how that building performs. This actually is a building, and I think this is a street corner in Santa Monica. And if you had the ability to, either on your smartphone, which this is all being done today, by the way, or even walking by and seeing the plaque and the scorecard, you had the ability to see what that building is, what performance level it has, where the owners and developers cared about energy or water or waste or indoor environmental quality, where the opportunities were. Now, that's an apartment building with a 7-Eleven downstairs. Unless you're buying an apartment there, you might not care. But what if that building, a little more nondescript, what if that building was a hospital that your parent had to have an operation in and heal in? Or it was a school that your child was going to go to, and you wanted a better learning environment with good air quality, good acoustics, a lot of daylight, a really healthy place for the teacher and the child to coexist, you might want to seek out the idea that LEED made things different. And that's why I think we're starting to see the advancement. There's a number of benefits in the LEED program and why these buildings are now in high demand. A lot of it comes from the business community. The business community has really understood now that there are benefits where you have the ability to differentiate yourself from other businesses. And, you know, people feel that if you are in fact creating stores, retail stores that obviously, you know, generate tremendous amounts of consumerism and some bad behavior, but if you have the ability to do one thing right, maybe it will influence more of what you're trying to accomplish. You know, large building projects, large development firms talking about LEED being a true market differentiator for them. These 3 Adobe towers out in California, just an amazing return of 148% in 1 year. Tremendous financial opportunities and solid business performance as well. This is the exterior of the Bank of America Tower in New York City, and it's again just very positive, great stuff. This slide as of December is wrong. It is now somewhere close to 150,000 LEED registered and certified projects and all around the world in 130 countries. And as I said before, 40% of these exist outside the United States today. And if you just take a look at some of these, I'm going to just run this on autoplay. You know, some of these are just amazing structures. A lot of times people say, does it have to be a glass and steel box to be a LEED building? The answer is absolutely no. This is the designer, the architect's creative license on how they choose to use LEED in the process. Ultimately, I mean, Washington University in St. Louis did 2 or 3 LEED Platinum buildings on campus, and they fit them into their brown brick Gothic, you know, campus. You would not know that they're a LEED building at all. It's just what they chose to design and how they chose to design it. So when you start looking at the square footage today, which is over 9 billion square feet, and realizing today we are certifying about 2 billion commercial square feet and 1.86 million square feet every single day. It's really amazing. This 1.7 is now 1.86. 1.86 has stayed with us for about 4 or 5 months now because I think we've reached critical mass through our ability to certify at USGBC. To double those numbers, I've got to go hire 60 more people. I would rather slow the process down a little bit than go hire 60 more people. But the good news is the numbers are increasing, the demand is increasing, and I think that signals a very good story for the future. We have about 175 LEED accredited professionals from the Green Associate side all the way up to the AP with specialty. And I'm sure many of you in this room are LEED, AP, or Green Associate at this point, and I want to congratulate all of you on that. I think it's an amazing accomplishment and huge differentiator. I knew I was coming today, so I got some slides last night, and I wanted to show you LEED 2012 is now, we are in the 4th public comment, which is somewhat unheard of, but this is the next wave of the LEED rating system. And when you start to look at what 2012 is, it's a little bit different. And for those of you that are not deeply ensconced in the issue of LEED, I apologize for the next 3 or 4 slides, but I know a lot of you really are wondering what LEED 2012 is. In simple terms, we're focusing on the high performance end of pipe issues that I mentioned to you earlier when I started. The increased technical rigor, obviously, that's something we always try. New building types, which I'll talk about in a minute, and 2012 as a global standard for buildings. And I think that that is going to become one of the most important parts of where we go with this. It's about continuous improvement, maintaining LEED as a standard of excellence. Carbon reduction is huge. We are now entering the waters of human health. We have started anecdotally with human health. You know, green buildings make you more productive. More air quality, better daylight, gives you a lot more. We're actually starting to look at some very serious issues of toxicity and other issues that affect health, and LEED will take a very active role in it. And in doing so, we are opening Pandora's box to a lot of special interest groups in Washington. One has already told us that they're going to spend $100 million to shut us down. So, you know, that's kind of fun, actually. We've arrived. So. We are in the 4th public comment. We've never done 4 public comments before. 20,000 individual comments. And last week alone, I think we had another 2,000 or 3,000. So people are hugely engaged in this issue. And one issue, part of it that you may be aware of in this neck of the woods, is the timber issue as well. And that is a part of the controversy as well. LEED has, from the very beginning, given strong recognition to the FSC rating system. We have embraced and encouraged SFI, which is the other. It's like the 4% and the 96%, 4% FSC, 96% SFI, but helping them understand, you know, what is inherently a good practice in FSC that SFI should embrace. And that is becoming, as you can imagine, a very contentious element as well. But there is a lot of movement in the rating system, a lot of changes, a lot of passion, a lot of great stuff. You can see that bottom swipe of green building codes. The reason why LEED has to evolve and the reason why 2012 is necessary is as building codes start to raise the bar, we say raise the floor, we need to raise the ceiling. And that's why the floor was raised in the first place. Because, you know, 10 years ago or 12 years ago when LEED came to the market, building code did not have one thing in it that had a connection to sustainability. It was pretty much all about safety and local laws. What we've got now is we've got in Standard 189, which is becoming code in a lot of municipalities, Standard 189 is essentially the old LEED certified or silver area. So that's how far that they've risen, and they incorporate a lot of issues beyond energy to look at water, to look at waste, to look at toxins and so forth. It's a really great way to see the market advance. I think I went through this, credit weightings, technical content, new market sectors. Individual buildings are so odd. When we think we've covered everything with new construction, LEED NC, you look at a data center and how much energy a data center uses, and you realize it's an 800-pound gorilla all by itself. So LEED 2012 will in fact embrace that data center and begin to give it a whole new set of issues that will support it. Warehouses, distribution center, hospitality, existing schools, which is huge, and retail and so forth. Also, we're making this one global LEED. What we will introduce at our Green Build Conference in San Francisco is a LEED plaque that no longer has the U.S. Green Building Council on it. So if you are in Beijing or Buenos Aires or Boston, I need another B, another B place. The LEED building will be rated with LEED, and people will understand that this is now a global phenomenon, and that these buildings are superior no matter where they are in the world. The user experience is very important to us. We're trying to make the program simpler and more friendly to the user. We're putting what we call an all buildings in concept. When we talk about performance, the way do you give performance is one of the programs we developed, which is the Building Performance Partnership, which is essentially a report card to the building on a yearly basis that talks about the energy use, the water use, where they've gone in the right direction, where they're going in the wrong direction, ultimately what they have to do to correct it. You could envision a world where we envision a world 3 to 5 years later where if a business does not follow our instructions on this and make the improvements in the building that need to be made, then the plaque would be removed from the building. Not physically, but we would take it off of the website as approved buildings that are in fact making a difference. Getting right to the end here, whatever I talk about buildings and whenever we talk about the great stuff the buildings do, we never forget that buildings are about the people inside them. And it's really all about people. We created the Center for Green Schools so that we could put a special lens on getting every child in a green school within this generation. And we're making some significant progress on it. We're creating a program that works not only on the building type itself, but helps influence the curriculum and work with the community to make sure that these buildings are well understood. The information that comes to us that helps us make these decisions are 25% of the population of the U.S. goes to school every single day. There's 133,000 K through 12 schools and 4,300 universities, administrators, students, teachers, and so forth. It's just mind-boggling. Number one driver, and I think all of this, is health. When you start looking at children's ability to learn and the problems that are going on, here's a public school in D.C., and this is an operational public school in D.C. And I know no matter where you live in the United States, there's schools just like this down the block or somewhere. And the number I heard, this is the number, if any, you want to write one number down today, in the United States alone, right now, there is $311 billion, with a B, dollars of deferred maintenance in our schools. $311 billion of deferred maintenance. The way, I mean, would you ever get on an airplane where United Airlines said, we have $311 worth of deferred maintenance? You know, I mean, it's a no-brainer that, you know, the deferred maintenance is not just about, you know, plants and trees and aesthetics. It's filters that are clogged and dirty. It's poor lighting. It's broken windows. It's carpet that's probably got things the Pasteur Clinic never saw yet. I mean, there are so many things that we need to refocus on, but man, $311 of deferred maintenance. Wow. Anyway, we have good success stories too. This is a school in one of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago, and ultimately is just breaking every record relative to the way the kids are learning. The amazing part of the fact that this is helping to stimulate the community again. The criminals, I don't know, thugs, whatever the right term is, the worst guys in this part of Chicago have basically set out a word to the community that no one tags this building with graffiti. And it has stayed untagged for 3 years because the building in the center of this horrible, horrible battleground is a beacon of hope. And it's changed so much about that. The other thing that we're doing, USGBC has actually bought a piece of land in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and we are building a LEED Platinum orphanage. It's a small learning center, it's a medical facility, and it's a way of getting kids into a carbon neutral, 100% off-the-grid facility that captures all of its own water, produces all of its own energy, actually produces more energy, and ultimately starts to be a beacon of hope in the community. So we're in the final stages of fundraising on that one. We've HOK is our partner down there. They designed the building. It's really exciting to see that. The more I travel the world, the more I see the problems in every corner of the world. They're no different than the problems we have right here. We get bad information sometimes, thinking people have different values and people care about different things. It's not true. People really are universally tied to wanting to do the right thing. My friend Majora Carter, who is on our board of directors, told me, she said this statement to me a year ago, and I've said it 150 times since. You don't have to leave your neighborhood to find a better one. And if you just think about how simple and elegant that statement is, and it was really funny, my wife and I were going to build a house on the other side of Syracuse a couple of years ago, and we decided to stay put for a number of reasons, the economy and otherwise. But one of the things, this is my backyard, probably about 6 weeks ago, before frost killed everything. But you can see in the middle of the screen there, hiding through the trees, is this little green image. And if you look closer, that green behemoth coming through that's actually an addition to Cherry Road Elementary School, which is one door away from my house. And my son, who was on a fellowship in Cambodia, sent me a text and said, "You got to get over to Cherry Road School. I hear they're building an addition, and it's not going to be LEED rated." And I went over, and he was exactly right. It's going to cost too much. We don't have the money. On and on and on, every excuse under the sun. So I went to, the first time that even I have done this, I went to a school board meeting. I presented a case. I showed them ad nauseum to them probably that I was not leaving until they understood it did not cost more money, that we would work with every part of this thing. We were going to make this happen. And then I pointed to the construction company, which was Turner Construction. And I said, and oh, by the way, I know your last 100 buildings came in at not 1 penny more than conventional construction. So you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't make money on this little school district, would you? And they're like, no, we would not. So anyway, it's going to be a LEED school in my neighborhood, and it's just that one thing. Let's empower ourselves to do things, and we can do them. I mean, I really believe that no matter how old I get, I'm learning every day that there's new things that we can do and new challenges that we can take. My last slide, I just want to encourage any of you that want to come to Greenbuild in San Francisco in November to please come and enjoy it. It is an amazing conference. Dan, do we have time for a 3-minute video? Yes. Okay, if we could run that now, I'd love you to just give a flavor of what Greenbuild is about. This was our Toronto show last year. I'm honored to be with all of you here tonight in the beautiful city of Toronto. This year, our 10th year, is our time to celebrate our growing global movement. And I'm thrilled to report that Greenbuild is thriving. We have more than 23,000 registered guests here for this conference from 108 countries.
This global network allows us to bring about change on a large scale.
Greenbuild's this fantastic time, isn't it? It's our place where we decide what the future becomes, because the future that gets created is only created by us.
And it's my honor tonight to open up the Expo Center. It's a 500,000 square feet. We've got huge multinational companies. We have very small companies. But we're all in the same business, to save this planet and make this world a better place.
This is my 5th year coming to Greenbuild, and I come really to kind of get reinvigorated, kind of see where the industry's heading.
If you're interested to learn about, cutting edge, this is definitely the place to be.
A lot of what people are doing here is groundbreaking. Every year you learn more and more, and the envelope gets pushed further.
The level of classes and workshops that they have, they're on a higher end.
It was incredibly important for me to be here to advance my knowledge of green building and also to make all those connections.
Greenbuild is a place to meet people.
Ladies and gentlemen, Maroon 5!
When everybody is actually together in one space, the buzz is quite something.
What this event does is actually connect the dots. It brings people together to figure out what can we do to really get things done.
I'm amazed that you're all here. And you know why I think you're all here? You're all here for the most important reason to be optimistic. You just didn't get the word. You just didn't get the word that we're not going to have a price signal, that the politics is all paralyzed. Promise me you will never get the word.
So, what's next? Integrative thinking, adaptive thinking, network thinking, rethinking, and maybe just more thinking.
We need to break new ground, but how do you create groundbreaking ideas? There's 3 words that I want you to remember. It is that diversity drives innovation. Use diversity of all kinds to find unexpected connections.
Over the past couple of years, we've seen an explosion of the mentioning of green building, and there's not a day that you open the New York Times and you basically see something mentioned about green building. That's big.
We started down this path a long time ago, folks, and I believe our dedication, our passion will continue to disrupt and transform the world in the best possible way. This will be our legacy and our future, and that legacy begins right here and right now.
Legacy is not about doing less bad. It's about doing more good. The past is prologue. What is beyond the horizon?
40 years ago, we went on an ambitious mission, one that many people thought was impossible. Only a few people went on that mission to the moon, but we all get to go to Mount Sustainability. This is what's next.
Your trajectory of success is really not unlike Google, Facebook, Twitter, the most innovative companies of our time. Organizations that create data, that mine it, that do the insane work that you've been doing, that's what's next.
My message to you today is don't forget your dream. I see so many people getting where they want to get and forget why.
It's so wonderful to be with a group of people who understand that you can make a good living doing good things.
I am from New Orleans, and this theme of resiliency, my hometown is nothing if not resilient.
Resiliency is not just about buildings or policy, economics, jobs, or mechanisms for surviving disaster. It's about all those things. This is the time right now to lead with purpose and passion, not despite the odds we face, but because of the odds we face.
To my Greenbuild family, I am overjoyed to see Greenbuild Next unfold. Now, back to where it all began.
A lot of the guys who really started this are home base there in San Francisco, so it should be fantastic.
I just love the city. It's very progressive, has a lot of great green and green building ideas.
So I'm going to be at Greenbuild so I can see if the industry really went where I thought it would.
I'll be attending Greenbuild in San Francisco because I think it's a wonderful opportunity just to stay current, as well as I love the city.
I'll meet you at Greenbuild 2012.
Thank you all very much.